Have you ever had one of those moments where you realize you have been working so hard, doing everything you think you are supposed to do, and yet when it is time to speak, your confidence just disappears? Like you can understand people, you can follow meetings, you can watch shows, you can read emails, and then someone turns to you and asks a simple question, and suddenly your mind goes blank, your chest gets tight, and you feel like you are back at the beginning again. And the most frustrating part is not that you do not know English. The most frustrating part is that you do know it, but you cannot access it in the moment. If that sounds familiar, I want you to hear this right away. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not lazy. And you are definitely not the only person who works hard and still does not feel confident. I have met so many adults who are incredibly capable in their lives. They handle pressure at work. They manage families. They solve problems. They make decisions. They are smart. And yet, when it comes to speaking English, they start treating themselves like they are fragile, like one mistake means something terrible. They start thinking, why can everyone else do this except me? And they do not say it out loud, but they feel ashamed, or they feel stuck, or they feel tired. And honestly, I get it because speaking is personal. Speaking is your voice, and it is how you show yourself to other people. And when you do not feel confident, it can feel like you are not fully you. A lot of people think confidence comes from working harder, more vocabulary, more rules, more pronunciation practice, more everything. And yes, effort matters. Of course it does. But here is the deep truth I want to sit with today. Confidence is not only built by effort. Confidence is built by safety, and it is built by repetition without punishment. It is built by having enough calm in your body that your real English can actually come out. Because if your nervous system is in panic mode, it does not matter how much you studied. Your brain is not thinking about the perfect word. It is thinking about protecting you. It is thinking, do not embarrass us. Do not make a mistake. Do not sound stupid. And that is when you freeze, or you overthink, or you talk very fast and then you hate how it sounded. So if you are someone who works hard but never feels confident, I want to reframe it. Maybe you are working hard in the wrong way. Not wrong like you are doing something bad. Wrong like you are pushing the same button again and again, hoping for a different result. Like trying to force confidence by squeezing your English tighter. And the tighter you squeeze, the less natural you feel. Let me describe something I see all the time. Someone is preparing for a meeting at work. They write notes, they translate their ideas, they plan sentences, they practice alone, and then the meeting starts and the conversation moves faster than expected. Someone interrupts. Someone asks a question that was not in the plan. And suddenly the person feels their confidence collapse because their confidence was built on a script. It was built on control. And real life does not care about scripts. Real life is messy. People talk over each other, people change topics, someone makes a joke, someone uses a phrase you did not expect. And if your confidence depends on everything going the way you planned, of course you will feel shaky. If you enjoy this calm, supportive kind of practice, you can subscribe and come back anytime. No pressure. Just know it is here when you need it. especially on days when you want to feel more steady and less in your head. Now, let us talk about why this happens, because understanding it can take away so much shame. One big reason is that many adults learned English in a way that trained them to look for mistakes. So even when you are not in a classroom anymore, you are still being watched by an invisible teacher inside your head. That teacher is always listening, always correcting, always saying, "That is not the right tense. That preposition is wrong. Your pronunciation is weird. You should have said it differently." And when you are speaking, you cannot be fluent and monitored at the same time. You can be careful, or you can be flowing. You can edit, or you can communicate. But when you try to do both in real time, you slow down, you hesitate, you lose your rhythm, and your confidence drops, not because your English is bad, but because you are interrupting yourself every 2 seconds. Another reason is perfectionism. And perfectionism is sneaky because it often looks like motivation. It looks like high standards. It looks like I just want to improve. But underneath perfectionism is usually fear. Fear of being judged, fear of being seen as less intelligent, fear of losing respect, fear of feeling small. So the perfectionist part of you says, if I cannot say it perfectly, I should say nothing. Or, I will wait until I am ready. Or, I need to study a little more first. And then months pass, years pass, and you are still waiting to feel ready. But here's the thing, confidence does not arrive first. It follows action. It follows messy action. It follows imperfect action. Confidence is not a requirement for speaking. Speaking is one of the things that builds confidence. And I know some people hear that and think, easy for you to say you are a native speaker. But I am not asking you to be fearless. I am asking you to be brave in a small, realistic way. Brave enough to say one sentence even if it is not perfect. Brave enough to keep going even if you use the wrong word. Brave enough to let your message be more important than your grammar. Let us talk about another block that is so common. Translating in your head. This is one of the biggest confidence killers because it creates a delay. You have an idea in your first language, then you try to find a matching sentence in English, then you try to check it, then you try to say it. And by the time you speak, the moment has already moved on. Someone else has jumped in, or the topic has changed, or you feel like you are too slow. And that slowness starts to feel like incompetence, even though it is not. It is just the translation process. When you translate word by word, you also put a lot of pressure on each word. You start believing that one wrong word will ruin everything. But in real conversations, especially with native speakers, we do not communicate by perfectly chosen words. We communicate with messy language, half sentences, little corrections, simple words, and a lot of tone. We say things like, wait, what I mean is, or let me think, or it is kind of like. We restart sentences all the time. We change our mind mid-sentence. We use basic vocabulary and still sound confident because we are comfortable. So I want to offer you a different goal. Instead of aiming for perfect English, aim for trustworthy English. English that carries your meaning, English that is clear enough, English that sounds like you, English that moves forward, because fluent speakers are not the ones who make zero mistakes. They are the ones who do not get emotionally knocked down by mistakes. They recover quickly. They keep going. They stay connected to the conversation. I remember a student who told me I feel like I have two personalities. In my own language, I am funny and confident. In English, I am quiet and serious. And that made me sad because I knew exactly what was happening. When you are anxious, you become simpler, you become cautious, you become less you. Not because your personality disappeared, but because your brain is spending all its energy on survival. It is like you are walking on ice. You are not thinking about dancing. You are thinking about not falling. So how do we change that? We start by changing what confidence means. Most people think confidence means feeling sure, feeling ready, feeling like you know you will succeed. But in real life, confidence often looks like willingness. Willingness to try. Willingness to be seen. Willingness to be a little uncomfortable. And that willingness grows when you create safer experiences for yourself. Let us bring this into real life situations, because that is where it matters. Imagine you're at work and someone says, "Can you give us an update on your project?" If your brain goes straight to performance mode, you will panic. You will think, I need to sound professional. I need to be correct. I need to impress them. And that pressure can make your words disappear. But what if you shift to connection mode? What if your only goal is to help them understand where things are? Then you can say something simple like, "Sure, right now we finished the first part and we are waiting for feedback. The next step is testing, and I think we will be ready next week." That is not fancy, but it is clear. And clarity builds trust, and trust builds confidence. Or imagine you are traveling and you need to ask for something at a hotel. Maybe you want extra towels. Many people overthink this. They try to create the perfect sentence, but in real life, you can just say, "Hi, could I get a couple more towels, please?" And if you forget the word towels, you can say, "Hi, could I get 2 more for the shower?" The person will understand. You do not need to be perfect to be effective. Now let us talk about a painful situation that a lot of adults carry. You are speaking, you make a mistake, and someone corrects you. Maybe they correct you kindly, maybe they correct you in a rude way, or maybe they laugh even if they did not mean to. And in that moment, your body remembers it. Your body stores it as danger. So next time you speak, your body tries to protect you from that feeling. That is why confidence is not just mental, it is physical. You can know logically that mistakes are normal and still feel fear in your chest when you open your mouth. That is not weakness. That is your nervous system trying to keep you safe. So if confidence is partly physical, one of the most powerful things you can do is slow down. Not because slow equals better grammar. Slow because slow tells your body we are safe. Slow gives you space to breathe, and when you breathe, your voice steadies. Your mind clears. You remember words more easily. If you take one thing from this episode, let it be this. When you feel stuck, slow down and keep going with simple words. Simple words said calmly are more confident than advanced words said with panic. Another thing I want you to notice is how often you label yourself. People say, I am not confident. I am shy. I am bad at speaking. I always forget words. And every time you say that, you are not describing a fact. You are practicing an identity. You are training your brain to expect failure. What if instead you described what is actually happening in the moment? Something like, I get nervous when I speak quickly, or I feel blocked when I try to be perfect, or I speak better when I feel relaxed. Those are changeable, those give you options. Identity statements feel permanent. Process statements feel workable. And here is something else adults do that makes confidence harder. They compare their speaking to someone else's speaking. Maybe a coworker who speaks smoothly. Maybe a friend who seems fearless. Maybe someone online. And they do not compare fairly. They compare their inside to someone else's outside. They compare their nervousness to someone else's performance. They compare their real life to someone else's highlight reel. You have no idea how nervous that other person might be, or how many mistakes they make that you simply do not notice. You also do not know what kind of life experience they have had. Some people are naturally comfortable speaking even with mistakes. Others need more time. That is okay. What I want for you is not to become a different person. It is to become a freer version of you in English. And that happens when you stop treating every conversation like a test. So let us talk about the test mindset. The test mindset says, if I make a mistake, I fail. If I pause, I fail. If I cannot find the word, I fail. If I sound different from a native speaker, I fail. And the problem with that mindset is that real communication is not pass or fail. It is connection. It is getting your point across. It is building relationships. It is solving problems. It is sharing ideas. The only real failure is when you stop participating because you are afraid of not being perfect. I want you to imagine two people in a meeting. One person speaks with perfect grammar, but they are so tense that they sound cold and distant. The other person makes small mistakes, but they speak with warmth and clarity, and they respond naturally. Who feels more confident? Usually the second person. Confidence is not the absence of mistakes. It is the presence of ease. And ease is something you can practice. One way to practice ease is to give yourself permission to be average sometimes. I know that sounds strange, but so many high-achieving adults cannot stand the feeling of being average. They are used to being excellent in their work, excellent in their responsibilities, excellent in their skills. So when they speak English and they feel average, it feels unbearable. It feels like losing status. But average is not a tragedy. Average is human. And average is often the bridge to excellent. You cannot skip it. So here, is a gentle question. What if you allowed yourself to be a little boring in English for a while? What if you allowed yourself to use simple phrases again and again? What if you stopped trying to impress and started trying to communicate? That is not giving up. That is building out a foundation. Because when your foundation is strong, you can add personality, humor, style, and more complex ideas later. But if your foundation is shaky because you are always reaching for perfection, you will always feel unstable. I also want to talk about something that people rarely say out loud. Sometimes you do not feel confident because you do not trust your own voice. You have spent so long correcting yourself, doubting yourself, and judging yourself that speaking feels dangerous. You are not only afraid of other people's reactions, you are afraid of your own reaction afterward. The replay in your head, the self-criticism, the mental punishment, and if you know you are going to punish yourself later. Of course, you do not want to speak, so part of building confidence is building kindness toward yourself after you speak. Even if it did not go well, especially if it did not go well, you can say, "That was hard, but I did it. I stayed in the conversation. I tried. I learned something. Next time will be a little easier." That kind of inner support changes everything over time. It makes speaking feel safer. Let us make this very practical in a natural way. Think about the next conversation you will have in English. Maybe it is a quick chat with a coworker. Maybe it is ordering food. Maybe it is a phone call. If you want to feel more confident, choose one simple intention. Not 10. Just one. Something like, I will speak a little slower, or I will ask one question, or I will not apologize for my English. That last one is huge, by the way. A lot of adults start with, sorry, my English is not good, and I understand why. It is a way to protect yourself. And it is like putting a shield up, but it also tells your brain, this is dangerous. It tells the other person, expect problems, and it pulls your confidence down before you even start. You do not need to apologize for being human. You can just speak. And another powerful intention is to focus on the other person. When you are anxious, you become very self-focused. You are thinking about how you sound, what your face is doing, whether you made a mistake, whether they noticed. But conversation is not a performance, it is a shared moment. So shift your focus outward. What is the other person trying to say? What do they need? What is the goal of this conversation? When you focus on helping the conversation move forward, you stop analyzing yourself so much. And confidence grows naturally when your attention is not trapped inside your head. Now, I want to say something about pronunciation because this is another place where people work hard and still do not feel confident. Many adults believe that if they do not sound like a native speaker, they will never be confident. But confidence does not come from sounding native. Confidence comes from being understood and understanding others. There are many confident English speakers with accents. And honestly, accents can be beautiful. They carry your story. The real issue is not the accent. The real issue is the fear that an accent means people will judge you. Some people might, but many people will not. And you cannot build your life around the opinions of the most judgmental person in the room. If someone does not understand you, that does not mean you failed. It means you adjust, you repeat, you rephrase, you slow down. Native speakers do this too, all the time. You have probably heard native speakers say, "Sorry, what did you say?" or "Can you repeat that?" Communication is a team activity, not a solo performance. I want to share a pattern I have noticed over and over. The people who become confident are not always the people who study the most. Often they are the people who allow themselves to speak before they feel ready. They are the people who collect small wins. They ask for directions even if their voice shakes. They say one opinion in a meeting even if it is simple. They make a phone call and survive it. They have an awkward conversation and realize the world did not end. And then their brain starts to learn a new message. Speaking English is not dangerous. It is just uncomfortable sometimes. And discomfort is not the same as danger. So if you are working hard but you never feel confident, you might be stuck in a cycle where your effort is mostly private. Studying alone, preparing alone, practicing in your head. And private effort can be valuable, but confidence is social. Confidence is built in real moments with real people, even small moments. That does not mean you need to put yourself in terrifying situations every day. It means you need gentle exposure, little steps that are challenging but not overwhelming. And there is another side to this. Sometimes you do speak and it goes fine and still you do not feel confident. Why? Because you do not let it count. You do not record the win. Your brain ignores it. You focus on the one word you said wrong instead of the 10 sentences you said right. This is such a normal human bias, but you can change it by paying attention. After a conversation, instead of asking, "What did I do wrong?" ask, "What did I do well? Did I keep going? Did I express my idea? Did I ask a question? Did I understand the answer? Did I stay present?" Those are real achievements. And if you start noticing them, your confidence starts to have evidence. I also want to talk about the idea of sounding intelligent. This is a big one for adults. Many people feel like their personality and their intelligence shrink in English. They feel like they sound childish, and that feeling can be so painful, especially if you are someone who is respected in your work or in your community. But here's what I want you to remember. Simple English is not childish. Simple English is clear. Clear is powerful. Some of the most intelligent people speak simply because they want to be understood. The ability to explain something in simple language, it is actually a sign of strength, not weakness. And if you are used to expressing complex ideas in your first language, it is normal to feel limited in English sometimes. That limitation does not mean you are less intelligent. It just means you are using a different tool, and tools feel awkward until your hand gets used to them. Over time, you will be able to express more and more, but you do not have to wait to be complex in order to be confident. You can be confident with simple English when you speak with steadiness. Let me give you a mindset shift that helps a lot of my learners. Instead of thinking, "I need to say this correctly," think, "And I need to make this understandable." Understandable is a flexible goal. Correct is a rigid goal. And rigid goals create tension. Tension blocks fluency. If you aim for understandable, you will naturally choose words you actually know. You will naturally speak a little slower. You will naturally check in with the listener. You will sound more human. And that is what people connect with. Now, what about those moments when you truly cannot find a word? This is where confidence is really tested. Because your brain might say, "This is proof. This is proof I am not good enough." But forgetting words is normal. It happens to everyone. It even happens in your first language, especially when you are tired or stressed. So instead of panicking, you can build a simple habit. When you forget a word, keep your sentence moving. Describe it. Use another phrase. Use your hands if you need to. Or just pause and say, "I cannot remember the word, but it is the thing that you use for." People will help you. And when you survive these moments, you become more confident because you realize you do not need perfect recall to communicate. And can we talk about pauses for a second? Pauses are not the enemy. Many adults believe that a pause means failure, but in English, pauses can sound thoughtful. They can sound calm. They can sound confident. The difference is what you do emotionally during the pause. If you pause and you panic, it feels uncomfortable, and if you pause and you breathe, it feels natural. You can even use small filler phrases, not to hide, but to give yourself space. Things like, "Let me think for a second," or "That is a good question," or "How can I explain this?" These are normal phrases native speakers use constantly. They are not cheating. They are conversation tools. Another reason people work hard but never feel confident is because they set the finish line too far away. They think confidence means speaking like a native speaker all the time in every situation with no nervousness. That is not a real goal. Even native speakers feel nervous sometimes. They feel nervous in job interviews. They feel nervous speaking in front of a group. They feel nervous when talking to someone they respect. Confidence is not a permanent state. It changes depending on the situation, the topic, your energy, your mood, and the person you are talking to. So instead of trying to become confident forever, aim to become more resilient, more able to speak even when you are not feeling your best. Let me paint a realistic picture. Some days you will speak and you will surprise yourself. You will sound smooth, you will be quick, you will feel like you, and other days you will feel slow and tired. And you will make silly mistakes. That does not mean you are going backward. That means you are human. The goal is not perfect performance. The goal is consistency. Showing up again and again, even when it is messy. I want to touch on something gentle but important. Sometimes people do not feel confident because they are trying to speak in a way that does not match them. They copy phrases that feel unnatural. They use formal words that they would never use in their own language. They try to sound like someone else, and then speaking feels like acting. Acting is tiring. It makes you self-conscious. Confidence grows when your English fits your personality. So if you are a straightforward person, your English can be straightforward. If you are warm, your English can be warm. If you are quiet, your English can be quiet. You do not have to become louder to be confident. You just have to be present. And that brings me to something I love to tell adults who feel blocked. Your goal is not to speak more. Your goal is to speak more honestly. Honestly does not mean sharing deep secrets. It means choosing words that feel natural to you. It means not forcing complicated sentences when a simple one is true. It means trusting that your meaning matters more than your performance. Let us talk about trust. Trusting yourself is a huge part of confidence, and trust is built through experience. If you always stop yourself, correct yourself, and silence yourself, your brain learns, we cannot handle this. But if you keep going, even with mistakes, your brain learns, we can handle this. We survive, we adjust, we get through it. That is how confidence grows, not through perfect outcomes, but through survival and recovery. So the next time you speak and it does not go the way you wanted, I want you to practice a different ending. Instead of replaying it for hours, just take one lesson and release it. Maybe the lesson is, I need to slow down. Maybe the lesson is, I need a different word for this. Maybe the lesson is, I was tired and that is why it was hard. Then let it go, because replaying is not practice. Replaying is punishment. And punishment does not create confidence. It creates fear. If you are listening to this while driving or walking or doing something around the house, I want you to try something small right now. Just notice your breathing. Do not change it dramatically. Just notice and imagine yourself speaking English from this calmer place. Imagine your shoulders a little lower, your jaw a little softer, your pace a little slower. This is not just relaxing for the sake of relaxing. This is fluency support. A calm body gives you access to your words. And if you are thinking, but Emma, I have to speak fast at work. People are impatient. Then yes, sometimes conversations move quickly. But speed is not the same as fluency. Real fluency is timing. It is knowing when to speak, when to pause, when to keep it simple, when to ask a question, when to clarify. You can be fluent without being the fastest speaker in the room. And you can be confident without being the loudest. I want to end with something I really believe. Many adults who work hard but never feel confident are not missing knowledge. They are missing permission. Permission to be imperfect, permission to take up space, and permission to have an accent. Permission to pause, permission to be learning in public. Because speaking is public, and that is brave. So here is the permission I want to give you today, and I hope you take it. You are allowed to speak English in a way that is not perfect and still be respected. You are allowed to make mistakes and still be intelligent. You are allowed to search for words and still be professional. You are allowed to be nervous and still be capable. Confidence is not a trophy you earn once. It is a relationship you build with yourself over time. And if you have been working hard for a long time, I want you to notice what you have already done. You have kept going. You have listened. You have learned. You have shown up. That matters. The next step is not to work harder until you break. The next step is to work softer, to practice speaking in ways that feel safe enough that your real voice can come out. So the next time you are about to speak, try this. Before you say the sentence, choose calm over perfect. Choose clear over impressive. Choose connection over performance. Then just start. Even if your voice shakes a little, even if you need a second to find the word. Start anyway, because every time you start, you are teaching your brain that you are the kind of person who speaks. And that identity slowly, gently becomes confidence,